Good morning. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. My name's Lorene. In front of you today, you have some art, not some books. My goal today is to show you some books that inspire my own studio practice, and they're quite beautiful. But I thought I'd start off with two of the pieces that have inspired me over the years. The one to the left, let me see, can I do this? Yeah, no, that's not going to work. I'll just leave it in the frame the way it is. The one to the left is actually a portrait of me. Back when I was in my early 20s, and I was a dancer, professional dancer, and I was working with Gabby Michelli and her partner Tim, whose last name I cannot remember. It's inside. It's like that's a thank you card, so it's inside the frame, and I can't open it, so I'll put that information below. He's an artist from, we would have been in the 1980s in Toronto. And Gabby Michelli is a longtime choreographer also from Toronto, University of Waterloo. Anyways, that was a thank you card, and there was a very brief moment when I was that thin. The other piece, the pileated woodpecker, and who doesn't need a pileated woodpecker, I just adore. It's so much fun. It's from a local folk artist who didn't sign his work, and Steve picked it up for me for one Christmas, and because we have pileated woodpeckers at our summer camp, so but this was just so much fun, and so both those two pieces of work, the line of the dancer and the comical approach of the pileated, are both things that inspire my work, and that I try to include soft lines and humor. And then this piece is in our living room, and we see it pretty nonstop. It's by Drew Claessens, and yes, it is slightly out of focus because he has feathered the edges of his paintbrush. So I worked at it for about 15 minutes and gave up, but it's just not going to focus. It's the nature of the brush strokes that he's put in. And a friend of mine sees, what does she see? She sees a river or something going past. It reminds me of a fountain when we were in Paris. But Drew himself didn't see the trees, and just for him it's complete work of color. And I love how he's got all the different squares and all the different values that there's just every day I look at this and I see something new. He's got a few drip lines, he's got a few very precise squares, and then lots of feathery, edgy, soft edge kind of shapes. So these are some of the things in real life that inspire my work. And now I'm going to take you to my studio. So I'm not really sure how this is going to work because I'm not set up for showing you flat books and I don't have an overhead kind of a camera. So hopefully these pictures work for you, and we have some fun looking at these books. So a million years ago, Steve and I were, I hope that's okay, I'm sorry. We were in Venice at the Peggy Guggenheim Museum, and there were some very soft beige and gray intersections of Paul Klee's works, or I should say the drawings were intersections of squares and rectangles and just really soft colors, and I really enjoyed his work. So many years later I was able to purchase this book, and it would be the image to do that image there. That certainly influences my work today. And the other thing that he did with his work was he drew over top of things. So that has a lot to do with the stitching that I do. Once I've done all the piecing of the squares, then I go back and I stitch over top of things. And then he also has a playful side. So I'm really sorry about the glare of the lights. I'm not set up for professional book stuff. So that is one influence. And another one that we came across when we were in London I can't remember how many years ago. So this was from the Victoria and Albert Museum, and it is fabric samples. And I have a couple, but this is the one that I like the best. And I actually used some of these images in my own. I did a piece of 9 small interpretations of his wallpaper work, and just played again with patching and stitching and I'm saying him when actually a lot of these are not artists unknown. But those are the kinds of things that I played with and worked with in my own work. So this is a fun little series. If you like any kind of historical fabrics or wallpapers or so on, this is put out by Abrams Press. And there's Victoria and Albert Museum have got a ton of books. I've got a couple of others, but they're not quite so important. So this is going to be a bit of a jerky video because I'm going to keep turning off in order to pick up the next book. So see you later. Okay, back in the 90s when we first moved to Nova Scotia, they have the Quilters group, the Mayflower Quilters group had a biannual retreat, and one of the years that I attended, we had Janet Bolton in attendance. And she was really life-giving to me. She made the comment along the way, you create what's in front of you. So she's got these wonderful little illustrations, and for a small period of time, I kind of just did just what she did. Well, I didn't do these two, but I used the ideas, sort of the patching, and just taking what was right in front of me, taking the fabrics I already had. I mean, she at that time obviously was a professional and speaker, and she had work in galleries, and so I like this one with the snail. I do like a snail. Well, only on paper or in ink because I don't like them in the garden, but yeah, so she just opened up doors for me. I attended her slideshow, and she explained her process. And I mean, the technique is fairly simple, but what is not simple, I think, is giving yourself, I don't know if that'll show up. I do a lot of white on white work as well. Giving yourself permission to just be yourself and to just, what am I trying to say? Not every piece of art has to have a deep meaning. Not every piece of art has to be a social justice issue or a commentary or, expression of deep self. And my own work is primarily decorative. I think you could say that. I think it's entirely meant to be just pleasure of color and intersection of shapes, and it's not, there isn't any ulterior meaning beyond there needs to be a place in the world for beauty, and this is my interpretation of beauty and gardens. And she was the first one that gave me that kind of inspiration. And these works are quite small. They're probably smaller than this piece, and that piece is about 12 inches by 12 inches. So she would maybe work on the rectangle and or small squares. Now another book that I picked up that doesn't actually inspire my art, but inspires my attitude, is dragons. I just love a dragon in literature, or some kinds of art. Sometimes they can be a little overwrought. I like a dragon that's smoking a cigar. And so Phoebe and I picked this up. I picked it up for myself, and she used it for a little while. This book has one of the other things that I enjoy doing, which sometimes I work in paper, and this book does some of the things that I do in paper, which is to layer up different pockets of paper or pockets of fabric, and to not be afraid of color combinations, and be okay with clashing colors, and a little bit there you've got a dragon scale, a little bit of glitter. A nice glittery, a nice glittery bead somewhere along the way can really be fun. And there's the dragon's eye. I mean, how can you not read this book and not feel a little bit happy? And I sure need some reasons to feel happy. Okay. Okay. What's this one called? All About Color by Janice Lindsay. This is along the lines of Lapidarium that I mentioned last winter, I think. And I think I also mentioned it twice in my, what is that called? Nonfiction November. That's still one of my top 5 books of nonfiction that I've enjoyed. This is very similar in that Janice Lindsay has taken different colors and has talked about their what would I say? Their influence in culture. They're just essays on color, and sometimes they have to do with the technical side. Sometimes they have to do with their material side. It's an intelligent book. It's very well written. It's also in very short chapters. And so you're not really, you don't have to just keep on going in order to get to the end of the plot, that sort of thing. I think it's an excellent nonfiction book. Now, if you're interested in purchasing it, where would you reach out? McClelland and Stewart in Toronto are the original publishers, and it was published in 2008. Now, I don't use this one particularly on a regular basis. It was just a really good nonfiction book that I can open up whenever I'm thinking, I'd like something that has to do with art that doesn't have to do with opinions. I guess that's one of the big things in art, right, is that opinions seem to matter, whereas in my mind it's like, they don't matter. You do you, I'm going to do me, and I know what its shortcomings are, and if you've got something to say about it, keep it to yourself. I don't need your opinion. But this book talks about color in a kind of a way where both many points of view are considered. So let's just pretend it was the color orange that I showed you. That could be a demonic color, or that could be a holy color, or that could be associated with the sun, but it equally could be associated with the fire, and different cultures, different interpretations of it, depending on where one finds orange. So you can have a lot of fun with that book. Now, I came to one of my first significant pieces of art was based on a garden in Italy, the Padua Garden, and it was called a physics garden, and it was designed in the late 1400s, I believe, and it was part of the Padua University of medicine. And so in the early days, all these herbs and botanicals that were imported from different countries and so on were automatically assumed to have some sort of medicinal properties. And if you've done any kind of history of science reading, then you know that observation, cause, and effect were not part of the thinking, the scientific process at all. And so, you could get somebody taking peppermint, grinding it up and pouring out on their head, and all of a sudden it's good for dandruff. And then someone else could take the same thing and burn it and use the ashes and add it to some wine, and all of a sudden it's good for stomach cancer. There was no logic. But this university was based around the presumption that it would all be revealed somehow. And what they did was they quite often would have these gardens that in the French they're called parterres. And so you might have, let me just think. Okay, so the thin lines would be the garden lines, and the thicker lines would be the path lines. And so you might get a whole bed of lavender surrounding this entire garden, and this might be all the different kinds of marigolds, and this could be all the different kinds of a rose tree, for instance, with smaller rose bushes. So they had these sort of segregation of plants, sometimes based on appearance, sometimes on color, sometimes on roots. I mean, it was very inconsistent. And so my very first piece was about the decay of medicinal knowledge through herbs. And this book is discovering the world's oldest botanical garden. Well, see, that's one of the reasons I don't like to frame my work. They fall down. No, if that had been framed, it would have made a great big noise and broken. And that's why I prefer just, seeing it move. Okay, Hortus mirabilis. And so we've got a really lovely walk through a whole pile of different botanical explorers and ideas and developments, and there's some really lovely photographs in there, and it's a fun book if you've got any kind of liking for the history of plants and botany. Now, is it my favorite? I think one of the reasons I picked it up is because I kind of wanted to bring my thinking process around herbs and this shape of gardens. I was done with it, and I wanted something to just read in order to bring things into a closure. But it is a gorgeous book. Okay, last one. This is amazing. Just a stunning book. The photography in it is gorgeous, and it's exploring the botanical world. And I think, is it Taschen Press? I have a feeling it was so expensive. Oh my God, it was painful. And I'm pretty sure. It's Phaidon Press, Phaidon, and printed in London. And I'm pretty sure I had to jettison a whole bunch of my clothes in order to get this back to Canada, because it was so heavy. Oh, now it has all these gorgeous different kinds of plants, but also what it has is it takes you through the history of botany, but it also takes you through up to contemporary interpretations of botany and paintings, sketches, watercolors. Of course, I'm not going to... That one's Buttercup with Veined White. This is a herbarium specimen painting from 2006, and by Rachel Pedar Smith, who's a contemporary artist. Let me see if I can get that in focus for you. Isn't that a stunner? Oh, it's fairly big too, I think. Let me see. What are the dimensions? Oh, it's not that. Oh, it's 23 inches. Okay, 23 inches by 18 feet. Oh my God. That's done in pencil and watercolor on paper. Holy Sambogus. Now, some of you... it also does other cultures as well, which is really fun. So this is the Japanese. Or possibly Chinese. I'm sorry, I didn't read below. So, print. And I was sure that there was photography in here. I don't know if you've ever seen those photographs that are it's like super. Oh, here's one. Supersonic close-up. This is cannabis color enhanced scanning electron micrograph. Who'd have thought that there was that much stuff going on? And then you look at that, and I say to myself, well, I can do anything when it comes to color. Turn it into a semi-polka dot, and away you go. Just have a whole lot of fun. But that's by Ted Kinsman. And yeah, so this is getting super hard to oh, there's another good one. This is a digital photograph by Oleksandr Holavachov. Doesn't that look like a painting? But it's not. Oh. So I continue to be inspired by gardens and flowers, plant life. So I'll just show you one. This little one. Just because this isn't really meant to be about my artwork, but more about the work of books. So this piece, I found a piece of broken wire and created a garden path. Those are smushed rose petals that did not keep their color. What a surprise. But anyways, and I use a bit of lace, and I think there's some beads in here. Anyways, so, and then as you can see from the piece behind me, I like to have things just hang on their own. How does it go? Oh well, doesn't matter. It's just how you interpret it. So, yeah, and this is the one I'm currently working on. So you can see sort of the influences from the books and to contemporary work. So, anyways, those are the books that inspire me for the studio. I have another 10 or so books in there, but they're more. Trying to think, they came from not Interweave Press out of the States, which I believe, and please correct me, I believe has closed its door. They used to do Piecework magazine, and I think they were involved with the knitting magazine and possibly a quilting magazine. I'm not sure. But I often would get their recent publications. So I've got things about the stitching on paper, and I can show you another time if you like. So today's video was brought to you from thanks to a complete lack of reading in the last 7 days. It's not 100% true, because I did finish that mystery book by Susanna Gregory, and I'm not going to recommend it. The middle, and it was huge. The middle basically had already figured out who the bad guys were and just went up and down the ladder and just in a different order. Well, this guy could have done that and that guy could have done this, and nothing new was brought to it. It took forever to read, and I was seriously underwhelmed by the ending. And I kind of figured out, if I'd taken a piece of paper and sat down about page 180 and kind of written down who the bad guys were and what I think they had done, I could have saved myself 200 pages. So, and I am reading a book for book club, but I didn't get it finished So I should have that for you next week. And hopefully things start to slow down. The number of hospital visits hopefully will slow down. And my French exam will be over, and I don't know what else, but hopefully the reading will have increased, and I hope you forgive me this kind of lull. If there's anything that you would like to see from the studio book piles, just give me a tap on the comments below, and I'll be happy to oblige if I can. So I hope all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true, and I will see you next week if all goes well. Bye-bye for now.